Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Dr. Bakari K. Lumumba, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, back with a great show in conjunction with, of course, Bequaline Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. As you all know, before we get started, family, make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the notification bell as well. Like, subscribe, and share. And we're back today, family, to discuss the importance of having a millionaire mindset for the Black community. So we're going to bring in the one and the only Emarchez Riley, a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, and credit expert dedicated to economic empowerment within the Black community. As the author of Your Credit, Your Rules, the ultimate playbook to a 7 to 10-day sweep, she helped countless individuals transform their credit and gain access to business funding. With a sharp eye for strategy and a passion for generational wealth, Emarchez champions the millionaire mindset as a tool for collective elevation. She believes financial freedom isn't just personal, it is revolutionary. So, family, just give a strong virtual welcome to Miss Emarchez Riley. How are you doing today?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here with you today. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
It is appreciated. So we're going to tap right in, of course. And family, as you all know, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, share. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat. After we finish the interview, family, if you have any questions, of course, the link will be in the chat. You can tap in and be part of the conversation. But we're going to start off. Share with us your background.
Yes, for sure. So my name is Emarchez Riley. I'm from Washington, D.C., the heart of Washington, D.C. I'm currently a full-time entrepreneur and educator in a financial space in which I help people build their credit up or fix their credit, build their credit, and then obtain funding to fund their dreams, invest in cash flow, and things of that nature. As far as my background, I come from a background of overcoming. So just like a lot of Black people, we did not have those conversations about financial literacy, money, mindset, and all of those things at the dinner table. And so a lot of the things that we've learned along the way was simply due to trial and error. So my goal now is to teach people the things that I've learned so that they can avoid some of those mistakes.
Wonderful. And what about your academic background?
Yes, so I got a degree from the University of Virginia in African American Studies and American Politics.
Very good. And so how did you make the leap from African American Studies to the financial industry? And that's not something we typically find. Typically, if someone's going to be working in the financial industry, they may have went to school for business, accounting, so on and so forth, finance, etc. How did you make that leap?
Yeah. Well, it all goes back to the fact that when I was in college, I didn't quite know what it was that I wanted to do, right? Again, because I didn't come from a financial background and we didn't talk about these things. And so I didn't know that that was even possible or option for me. So in school, I learned a lot about African American studies in a sense of systems, right? And it allowed me to see how systems actually worked against us for generations and generations, right, as a people. And so it gave me a deeper why as to why I needed to be in this space at that moment in time. And then also I looked at it as it wasn't just a random leap. It was also seeing the things around me, the exposure that I got from UVA attending that school. And then I start to realize that financial literacy was actually like a form of resistance. So, in a sense. And so now I use credit or helping assisting people with, building up their credit to get access to OPM, which is my form of, or other people's money, which is my form of activism.
Okay. Very good. OPM, other people's money. Very
Yes.
good. Because I had to write that down. Never heard of it before.
Yes.
Right?
OPM.
Acronyms, right? Acronyms. Have you had any successes in the financial industry? And if so, what are they? Because most people would argue individuals who are making these claims are really scammers. We've seen these type of issues on TV shows such as American Greed.
Yeah.
But I'm making a presumption that this isn't theoretical for you. This is something that is practical for you. What have you had in the financial industry?
Well, honestly, because my space is credit, and it's also gaining access to capital. That's my space. So I've helped hundreds of my clients fix their credit and obtain funding. And a lot of the times we get them 50K or more, especially on a business end where they can go and fund their actual business, whatever they may be. It can be real estate, it can be marketing, it can be anything that they actually really want to invest in, but that is not uncommon for me and my company to be able to do that. So again, hundreds of clients that came through our program have been able to obtain that and then invest in. My passion is also real estate, so also partner with me on deals and things of that nature. So
So,
that's what
so I'm making it. So you have a real estate portfolio.
so I've been flipping properties. So
Okay, very good.
unfortunately, I sold off my portfolio, but I do want to get back and transition into buying and holding.
Okay, very good, very good.
Mhm.
Have you had any pitfalls in your career as a financial guru?
So yes, I think the biggest pitfall was burnout, and sometimes that's still one of the things that is a struggle in a sense, because coming from the backgrounds that we come from, it's always you have to be on the go, you have to move, you have to work, especially since we know where we come from and we don't want to go back there a lot of the times. So we are racing against the clock and we're trying to figure it out along the way. So it's burnout and actually feeling guilty for taking a break, for giving yourself grace, because it takes a lot to unlearn the things that you've learned, growing up. It takes a lot to actually then relearn new things. And then you have to also apply those new things. Those are three different mindsets.
Right.
So it takes a lot to do that. So burnout is very easy when it comes to entrepreneurship. I think another thing is, I would say, teaching while still learning. That has been a huge thing for me, simply because within my family and generations, I do feel like, because they see the success, they see the fruits of your labor, but they don't see the investments on the back end. But it's also that expectation that you have to then go back and assist other people, but they don't see that along the journey you're figuring it out. You don't know what your next step will always be. And so in figuring it out and in learning along the way, it's kind of hard to then reach your hand back while you're still figuring out and paving your own road. So I think those are the biggest two things when it comes to my journey in entrepreneurship, is just burning out and then also having to teach while still learning.
What were some of the things you had to unlearn?
Whew, okay, so one of the things was credit cards are bad. Listen, every time I talk to one of my clients, a lot of them do not even have credit cards, right? Because they think of it in a consumer mindset. You think credit cards, typically people use it to buy, you know, jewelry, or they use it to buy just materialistic things. And the thing about it is that I look at, one, credit as a game, and then also I look at America as a business. So it all stems from credit, right? And if we're not using that to our advantage, we're actually not even in the game. So for me, it was that thing where once I got to college, I gained that exposure, and I remember having a roommate, and he had an 800 credit score, and I didn't have a credit score at all. And he basically told me that his parents added him as an authorized user. They were building his credit since he was a young teenager and all of these things. And again, I didn't know any of this. It was foreign territory to me. So in college, I got my first credit card, and I was able to then start to figure out, okay, how does this thing work? If I use it, when do I have to pay it back? How does it affect my credit? What kind of credit score I could get by using, utilizing these different avenues? And so that just opened up a whole different world for me, just that exposure itself.
Okay, very good.
Mhm.
What are some of the barriers to African Americans having a millionaire mindset?
Whew. The very first one is survival mode. Okay. When you're in survival mode, it's hard to think about a millionaire mindset. What is that? When you're in survival mode, you're thinking about how can I pay the next bill? How can I get out of debt? You do not see the light at the end of the tunnel a lot of the times. So, I mean, that will probably be the biggest thing. And also lack of exposure, simply because a lot of the things that I've learned and gained is through being in different rooms, or, going to UVA or attending school in a different state where it's more, cultural in a sense. So I was able to get different exposures to different things. And so when you don't see what wealth is like, or how to build wealth the right way, you kind of don't know that it's an option for you. Like, you can actually have it yourself. You don't know those things until you're exposed to them.
Very good. Why should African Americans have a millionaire mindset? Why should the Black community have a millionaire mindset?
Okay, nice one. So, um, I believe that we are meant to live in abundance. We are meant to be able to have more than just enough. And it's so funny because I've been having this conversation a lot more lately, where, I would talk to friends or family members, and their goal is to just be comfortable, right? And the way I see it is that it's meant for us to have an overflow, simply because we have to go the extra mile and lend a helping hand in order to bring, future generations with us, or to, propel them in a different way, or in a different trajectory. So, for me, I would say that the biggest thing is, I know exactly what I'm trying to say, but yeah. So I would think that, um, that's the biggest thing for me.
Okay, very good. Is the millionaire mindset for conspicuous consumption? Oftentimes when we see on social media, we know social media oftentimes is not a reflection of reality, but for many people,
Mm,
it is a reflection of what they hope their reality will be. But
mhm.
we find, this push for Black wealth being rooted in the ability to be what many people call conspicuous consumption. Is that the goal of the millionaire mindset?
No. So unfortunately, that's the things that we see, because, we are exposed to different industries and, things like that. So that's the main thing that we see. However, I would say it's not about the materialistic things. It's not about, buying a new Benz, a new Gucci belt. It's not about any of those things. It's actually about buying back your time. Because think of it like this: we all have 24 hours in a day, right? But when you incorporate that millionaire mindset, you start to get resourceful. So when you start to get resourceful, not only do you have your own 24 hours, if you collaborate with others, you also have their 24 hours. So now you're buying back the time in order to pull into the foundation, in order to build up future generations to come, so that they're not starting from ground zero as well. So it's just about that millionaire mindset allowing you to be a little bit more resourceful. And then, like I said, buying back time, which is the real key to building a solid foundation.
How does Marcus Garvey connect to the millionaire mindset?
Oh, good one. So I won't sit here and pretend like I'm an expert on Marcus Garvey, but what I do know is that he was a visionary. He believed heavily in Black self-reliance, group economics, ownership, all of those things, right? And these are things that we're fighting for to this very day, especially in a financial space, right? And I like to think about it like this. For instance, I'll use this as an example. Atlanta right now is, I mean, like the Black Mecca, especially when it comes to, Black entrepreneurs in the financial space. They're building something great. So just imagine, at a high level, we can duplicate that, in different cities, right? And now we're not only pouring into the actual mindset, but we're also pouring into Black enterprises and Black businesses, and growing those Black businesses and supporting one another. So I think that ties directly into, his belief in Black group economics and ownership and things of that nature. Because if we can duplicate those things and pour into the Black people and learn as we go, it will change the trajectory of our culture.
Is the millionaire mindset a panacea for anti-Black racism?
No. Okay. I don't believe that it's this cure-all solution, but I do believe that having that millionaire mindset gives us options, right? It gives us leverage, as well as money. Money is a tool. It gives us the option to be able to build and actually, what I would say, leverage. Like, it gives us the option to be able to leverage tools that's necessary in order to build the foundations that we need to accelerate as a whole, right? Because if we don't have that tool, then the progression would take longer, in a sense.
Very good. There are some Black socialists who watch my channel. What would you say to them? Many would be opposed to this concept for millionaire mindset or Black capitalism being used as a tool to advance the Black community. What do you say to that?
So here's what I would say. Well, first, I respect all point of views, okay? But I do think that they can coexist.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that just because we're building wealth in the Black community doesn't mean that we're abandoning the community, right? We can build wealth and simultaneously pour back into our people. So it doesn't have to be this either or kind of thing. They can definitely coexist, and it could effectively elevate everyone as a collective instead of being geared towards like individual gain. So I think that it can coexist with each other, building Black wealth, and then also looking at it as a whole and pouring back into our community.
What are your ABCs to financial literacy?
Well, one, I would say that it doesn't start, it definitely starts with the mindset, because what I would say is this: if you tell yourself you can't do something, that's absolutely true, right? But if you tell yourself you can do something, that's also absolutely true, right? So you have to be able to believe something and become that person before you can then go and do the thing that is necessary to make the change. And I learned this because I was listening to Myron Goldman not too long ago, and he always preaches be, do, have, right?
You said you was listening to whom?
Myron Golden.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. So he always preaches be, do, have. And so again, becoming that person or being that person first, and it starts in the mind, doing the things that that person would do in order to, of course, propel the collective. And then also that results in the having, which is the millionaire mindset, the financial gains, the wealth, those things. So it starts there. It starts with the being, do, and then have.
Very good, very good. So we're gonna get to some of the comments here, and then of course, brothers and sisters, if you want to, tap in, be part of the conversation, ask some questions to Sister Emarchez Riley, the financial aficionado. You could do that. So snapshot reviews all the way from Jalio, London, from across the pond. He says a lot of people seem to think that it's about getting rich quick, when actually it's about getting rich slowly and enjoying the process. Buying back your time. I like that. Never thought of it that way. And our brother from the Illidale 215 says, I used to work as a sales associate at Lowe's. I notice people love to spend money. It doesn't matter what race they are in that regard. So very good, very good. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, family. And of course, we want to tap in and be part of the conversation. You can. Of course, family, as you know, you're watching LuMumbaSpeaks.com, a Black Empowerment Initiative, where we believe you can gain the competitive advantage by always betting on Black, in conjunction with Bequaline Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, the home of African-centered news and information. And we're having a conversation with Emarchez Riley, the financial guru, of course, and the progenitor. But are you the progenitor of the concept, the millionaire mindset for the Black community?
Sure, for sure. Yes, I will say that. Hold on. How do I join this chat here? Okay. Yes.
And so how long have you been indie financial. Well, one, when did you start your company?
Okay. I started officially my company about a year ago, so it's
Okay.
fairly new. But I have been in this space simply because I've been an investor for about 3 years now, right? So, during that journey, I had to figure out again from trial and error how to even start, where to start, because a lot of the times we feel like it's so far fetched that we have to save our way in order to, make the kind of moves that we want to make. I didn't know about leveraging my credit in order to use OPM, right? So these are things that I'm reaching out to people that I see maybe on social media or just people that are in my circle, and I'm gaining the knowledge that I need to gain in order to get to the point of becoming an investor. So once I started learning different methods and different things, then that's where my journey starts, because it doesn't start with me simply creating the business, right? I had to get to the point where I wanted to create the business in order to be able to teach these things to other people. So my journey started along my personal journey where I had to then figure it out from ground zero. Where do I get the capital in order to invest in cash flow? Where do I get to the capital in order to become an investor? And so that's how I learned how, you know, building my credit and getting to the point where I can leverage other people's money was just my way of, getting ahead essentially.
Have you faced any barriers in the financial community, inter community and intra community?
Hmm. Barriers in terms of,
Barriers to success.
say that one more time.
Barriers to success.
For sure. So I do believe that in this space, a lot of the times, now you got to think about it, especially coming from the background that I'm coming from. I would say one of the biggest barriers is just being the first, I guess, in your family to do the thing, whatever that thing may be. So for me, it was that financial space because again, if you never grew up with having these certain conversations, the conversations then become foreign to the people that you are the most comfortable with, that you are the most familiar with. So having to then, I would say, separate yourself in order to grow, that was definitely a barrier for me because now I'm in a space where not only, am I separated from the people that I have become comfortable with, but I'm also in a space where I'm continuously learning something new, which is grounds for being uncomfortable. But that's where you have to be in order to grow. So I would say that would probably be the biggest barrier, the separation part of having to do this alone.
Very good. Mr. Sandman, what's the word? What question do you have for our sister, Emarchez Riley?
Hi, Miss Riley. This is
Hello.
how you doing? You said
Goodness.
you're from Virginia. I have a friend named Riley. He's from New York City, but he lives down in Atlantic City, and he's always been real heavy in the stock market. I'm wondering if y'all were related.
No.
Okay. Oh, you're not? Are you West Indian?
I am not that I know of.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. The question I had was I've been keeping track of this one financial influencer named Dave Ramsey, and he preaches that to stay away from credit, and that's what I've been like practicing for the past few years. He says if you can't pay for it in cash, don't buy it at all, unless it's a house or something you absolutely need to get to work, like a vehicle. What do you think about that? Those ideas and those principles.
Well, I definitely believe in being responsible with the credit that you do get because you got to think about it. Most people think about credit in a consumer sense in which they're spending the funds on something that's not going to bring them a return on their investment. However, if you're using that credit to get ahead, because again, most people think that you have to save your way to financial freedom or that you have to save your way to your goals. But if you could accelerate that with credit and you know that you have a plan, I can't say that I necessarily agree with staying away from something that could propel your goals and
So,
move
so let,
you
let
forward.
me ask this question. This, I guess, can be a retort in some way. Are you talking about using credit for a business rather
Well,
than?
yeah. Well, what Dave Ramsey preaches, if it's something like material that you don't absolutely need, then don't use a credit card. He says, cut up all your credit cards. But if it is something to like manage your business, then that's something different because I think the business will be credited against the credit card or something to that effect. I don't own an LAC or know the dynamics behind that, but I don't know if your LLC has a bad credit rating, does it have a bad credit representation of your own personal credit?
Well, in a sense, your LLC is its own separate entity, so it would not negatively affect your personal credit unless you became a personal guarantor on the funds that you receive. Then it can negatively affect your personal credit. However, once you broke that down for me, I agree in the sense of you do not want to use credit for things that's not going to bring you a return back, because it's easier to go down that road of spending money that you do not have. And it's
Mhm.
easy to also get into debt in that way. So, especially in our culture, we tend to pass down debt instead of wealth. And so I can see the avenue that, he's speaking on and that you're speaking on. So I agree in that sense that you don't want to use credit continuously for things that's not going to bring you a return back, because it's easy to get into debt.
Yes, I agree. And I was also talking to this one business lady. She owned her own salon. She was actually one of my instructors at this barbershop school that I used to attend. She
Mhm.
told me that she uses a business credit card to purchase things like vehicles and supplies for her business and
Mhm.
things of that nature. And if it's necessary to use the card for other things that she might need, she can use that credit card. She can use the things that she's purchasing as
Mhm.
a business write-off, so to speak. It's kind of like a loophole in the system where a business owner can like write things off, and if it's not above a certain amount, she doesn't have to worry about getting audited by the IRS. So
Mhm.
I mean, I know that might be illegal against the law. I don't know if it's against the law or not, but I think like a lot of entrepreneurs might use the LLC to buy things, personal things, and charge it to the business. Is that a loophole that you find a lot of business owners utilize?
So yes, because it's not necessarily illegal in a sense. So basically, what it sounds like is that she's using that business credit card, which is very smart, because a lot of the times business credit cards come with a 0% APR for a certain period of time. So that could be anywhere from zero. It could be anywhere from 18 to 24 months, which you're not paying interest on that money, right? So that one saves you a lot of funds by not having that high interest rate. And so what she's doing is utilizing that card, whether that be liquidating the card in order to pay for something, or she's swiping the card in order to pay for business expenses. And when you have an LLC, it's a lot of things that you can write off as far as your lifestyle, because it supports your actual business. So that's what the entity is for, so that you can utilize that entity for tax purposes. I'm not a tax professional, so I can't really speak too deep into that aspect, but that is a very resourceful way to run your businesses through those business funding, that business credit card. Because again, think about it like this: if you pay cash for something, you're just going to walk away with that one thing. If you pay for that same thing with a credit card, a business credit card, you're going to walk away with that one thing, but also different perks. So whether that be, cash back that they, accredit you, it can be, travel, incentives or anything of that nature. It also builds your credit up, the utilization. So it's different reasons why people might use credit versus actual cash. And on the business end, it does not affect your personal utilization, which allows you to then use the funds as much as you need to in order to support your business activities.
Great
Yes.
question. Great. Go right ahead, Mr. Sandman.
Yes. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
And also I'm in that tax bracket where it just seems like every year I always owe the government money at the end of the year. But I was just talking to my tax adjuster, or the person that was helping me with my taxes. They said that it's good advice to take your income and invest it prior to it becoming actually like sent to you as an investment pre-income, so that the government can't tax you as much. So say, I don't know, if you made like over you're a six-figure person, and you take half of that six figures and you invest it before it even hits your bank account, then the government can't tax you on the six-figure salary. They can only tax you on the 50% income. Is that true?
Um, I'm not 100% sure, simply because that's not my lane. I'm not a tax professional, but on the business funding aspect, or the business credit aspect, that's where I can assist.
Okay, I have one last question also. I'm looking to start a business with my son, and he's into making designer shirts. And being that I'm a veteran, I was told that I could get grants from the VA to start a business, but I have to come up with a business plan that will allow them to invest in the company that I plan to start with my son. Do you know the best asset to utilize to put together a business plan that will get accepted by a financial institution?
For sure. So, and this might sound super funny, but use AI. That's exactly what AI is for, and it's free. If you use ChatGPT, and I use this all the time, and this is it, I mean, even a grant writer will tell you, I have people that I'm in connection with, and they also use the same tools in order to, write their proposals and things of that nature. And then, of course, you tweak it to whatever your needs are. But that is the easiest solution right now, because that's what technology is here for. So I would say start there before you then go in and pay for someone to do it for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a question, of course, from the UK. Snapshot Reviews asks the question, what would your advice be for promoting group economics in the community, especially if you are connecting with skeptical folks in the community?
Okay.
Because, there is a healthy skepticism in the Black community regarding, what many people would argue is Black capitalism.
So I'll kind of share from my personal experience. So I would say that nowadays people need to connect with you on a different level. So that entails you being able to, I would say, show a little bit of relatability and also vulnerability, because it's that trust factor. That's why people are skeptical, because they don't know whether they can trust you.
Mhm.
What is keeping me to, this person, or what allows me to actually trust this person and not be skeptical, right? Yes, of course, it's a mindset thing as well. But I think that people gravitate more towards authenticity, and also you showing up and being relatable, and not being a person that shows up and you're portraying this perfect image, right? And so my advice would be is to I would say, my advice would be to first, that is a really good question, number one. And now I got to really think about it. skeptical.
Well, I would say, just from my experience, part of it is having a track record of success, right? Not being theoretical, but being actual pragmatic, to where you can show people that you have a track record of engaging in group economics and on a level to where people received what we would argue is a return on their investment, or whatever group economic project one was engaging in brought about a desired result, right? So I would give an example. There was a time, of course, I think I shared with you all here on the channel before, we had created the Pan-African Organization, the Coalition of African Unity. And please just forgive me, Sister Riley, if I'm stealing your thunder real quick.
No, take it away.
And so, of course, I talked about, as you all know, we celebrate Kwanzaa here in my household. Lumumba household, we celebrate Kwanzaa. And we know the fourth principle of Kwanzaa is Ujamaa. Of course, cooperative economics. We know that Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, of course, the first president of Tanzania, of course, was one of the primary teachers about Ujamaa cooperative economics. And so when we created the organization, Marcus Garvey taught us that what is done for African people should be done by African people, right? We should not depend on the largesse of others, right? Thomas Sankara taught us this as well, that whoever feeds you imposes their will upon you. That's what my children have to do with the French toast I tell them, or that's their ass, right? So what we ended up doing, we discussed, of course, this practice of susu, right? A lot of the brothers and sisters were skeptical. I even, of course, cited the source in Dr. Of course, golly, what is it? He wrote the book Blueprint for Black Power, Amos Wilson's book Blueprint for Black Power. They were skeptical. So as a result, there was about 10 to 12 people in the organization. Everyone donated $10 a week. Before you know it, we had $5K in the bank. Right. And so I think being able to walk a person through, but also walk them through in a manner in which it would bring about an actual desired result that is foreseeable, that is tangible, that then I think you could garner some trust. But we do know one of the major issues, of course, is there are a lot of individuals in the community who are scamming, who are looking to get over, and of course are using the racial dynamic to elicit trust, and then of course run off with a person's money. A great example of this from a Black cinematic frame of reference is the movie Raisin in the Sun. I don't know if anyone has seen the movie Raisin in the Sun, but in the movie, of course, Sidney Poitier's character is the son of a father who passes away. They received a life insurance. If you've seen the new version, which came out in, I think, 2005 or 2006, Sean P. Diddy Combs, of course, no Diddy, right, plays the role of Sidney Poitier's character. He's the son they receive, and they decide to get with a brother who's supposed to be an investor and open a liquor store. He takes the money that they used, that was part of the of course, life insurance policy check they received, and he runs off with it, right? And so these are some things that unfortunately happens in our community. We're seeing all the time. There was individuals who actually are scamming, right? But I would argue something tangible is what is needed and necessary to bring about the trust that one would desire if they're going to engage in group economics.
Yeah, for sure. And that definitely comes to play in my business as well, especially when it comes to the credit industry and the funding space, because again, there are a lot of scammers. So I do use my client reviews and also referrals as a way to gain more clientele. And that does break the barrier of skepticism, because they feel like now I'm someone that they can trust because they had someone that they knew they were able to connect the dots for them.
Okay. And have you ever came across someone that you believed was shady in the industry? I mean, this is a great segue.
Have I ever? Now, before I, became a person in this space, yes, I have, right? Because again, this was something that it was trial and error for me. So I didn't know a lot about credit, years and years ago. So before I enter into the space, yes, I have. But I didn't know that it was shade. I didn't know that they were shady. I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
So
we're going to attribute that to you being from DC, right? Yeah, hey, listen, family. Y'all know I'm always throwing shade. Y'all know it, right? So
I didn't know in this space, in that financial space, that's what shade was, So I would say that as I've, grown in the industry and I've met more people and I've gained more knowledge, then it happens less frequently. And I have not come across those types of people. But in the beginning stages, yes, I have.
Okay, great. And what are some red flags that one should be or need to be aware of to prevent themselves from being duped by shady characters?
In my
Yes,
industry,
ma'am.
I always say contracts, paperwork, some kind of paper trail. Because for me, my company, we always have our clients sign contracts simply because it protects the client, then it also protects us as well. And when I talk to a lot of new clients who have experiences with people in the funding or in the credit space, that was the first thing. They just paid their money and wish upon a star that whatever they say was going to be executed upon happened, and it didn't always happen that way. So that's number one. I would say always have some kind of paper trail, because you cannot just send your money to someone, especially if they're operating within a business. A business, should have those types of structures and paperwork and things of that nature in place for, their clients and things of that nature. So I would say that if they are making promises that seem too good to be true, that's the
Such as,
number one sign. Well, one thing is that, people say, well, in the credit space, especially, well, they'll come to you with these deadlines and they'll say, yeah, I could clean your credit in 24 hours, or I can do this within a certain period of time. And we never make those promises because, 70% of what we do is out of our control. In a sense, we're, for instance, I tell our clients that it's required by law that we give the credit bureaus 30 days to respond to our disputes.
correct.
So if that's already 30 days, how can we say in 24 hours your credit is going to be clean? So it's just people typically know when they hear something that is too good to be true. But again, being in survival mode and being in a place where you feel like you have no other option, it kind of put blinders up when it comes to those red flags.
Very good, very good.
Mhm.
Any other questions, family? Before we of course close out, we want to thank Sister Riley once again for taking time out of her Sunday afternoon, of course,
Yeah.
to have this conversation with us. That, of course, we believe is important. We know when we talk about Black empowerment, part of Black empowerment, of course, is financial stability, financial flexibility, and financial empowerment. Right? Not for conspicuous consumption, but we want to make sure that we're able to improve the material conditions of our people, irrespective of where we are in the world. And part of that starts with being knowledgeable, of course, of finance, how money and how finance can, of course, we can use finance to empower us. Absolutely. Mr. Sandman, any final thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Miss Riley, and thank you for allowing me on your platform, Dr. Lumumba.
No problem.
Uh, I also wanted to ask her, with the way that the world is going today. You've seen the Trump administration just drop some bombs on Iran, and
Mhm.
they're talking about artificial intelligence taking a lot of jobs. Where do you see the American economy going in the next decade or so? And also, in conjunction with that question, what do you think would be a smarter idea, to have $1 million home or to have $1 million invested in the stock market?
Okay. So I'm not a stock market expert. I always promote real estate. Um, And the reason being is that because a lot of the times I believe in really just controlling the controllables. And although we can't always control the actual real estate market, I don't think it's as volatile as the stock market, right? And so for me, especially when it comes to investing in land really depreciates. So when it comes to investing, I would, and maybe I'm biased because again, I'm not in the space. I'm not in the stock market space. I'm more so get towards the real estate space. So maybe I'm biased, but I would rather have my investments in, real estate and land than in the stock market. And your first question was, what was your first question again?
The first question was about the economy and the way it's headed due to a lot of the conflicts that are going on internationally with the government. I mean, with the Trump administration attacking Iran, and also with artificial intelligence supposed to be taking a lot of jobs away from Americans.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that's going to affect the economy moving forward in the next decade or so? Like, or should we expect like huge changes than what we're used to, you know, dealing with economically in this country, or do you think it's going to be the status quo for the most part for the next decade?
Hmm. That is a great question that I have not honestly really thought about. So, my thing is, you know, I think that the perfect time is always now to move. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the times we look at these different crises, if you would say, and we freeze up. And I think that I heard this term a lot, and I don't know if you've heard this term, but um, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Hmm.
So regardless of,
I have heard that. I've
right?
always, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I've
No, go
I've
ahead.
been told that when one person sees a problem, an entrepreneur sees an opportunity.
Mhm.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably part of the reason why I have not really focused on that particular issue and problem, simply because I understand that when these things happen, it's our job and our duty to come up with a solution, something that could allow us to um, basically use it to our advantage, honestly. So that's really my belief with it. I don't know if you have anything to add to it, simply because that's how I view this.
Yeah, I think that's the millionaire's mindset is to take advantage of a crisis because there's always light at the end of the tunnel, or there's always a need for something, and if you're an entrepreneur, then you can provide that need for monetary gain. So, yeah, I believe that mentality is something that Black people should really tap into. Not just uh, economically with the rest of the world, but also in our own communities as well. When we're talking about group economics as well, taking advantage of those needs. So if we're in a rough community that needs maybe some cleaning up, then start a cleanup business, and that
Mhm.
and help bring up the value of the real estate in that area. So, or if it's a violence issue in that area, then provide security services for the people in that community. All different kinds of things
Mhm.
could be, uh, could be positive for the Black community with a millionaire's mindset.
Yes, indeed.
So Snapshot asked this question. He says, would you choose investing over running a business? Or what do you think should come first?
Running a business. I think that you should focus. And this is my take. I will tell you my opinion. So I think that if I was to choose the order, I think that they need to coexist. But if I was to choose the order, I would say that work on your actual active income first, which to me is the running the business aspect of things, and then using an investment as a way to grow the money that you're actively making. That makes sense.
Okay.
So if I had to choose an order, it would be that, but it's not one or the other. I believe that you do both
Both
simultaneously, but
and. Okay.
yes, both is needed. But if I had to choose an order, it would be focusing on that active income and then using the investments to grow the active income.
Okay. And our last question, should folks focus on eliminating debt before investing or starting a business, or should they try to do both at the same time?
Hmm. Maybe I'm a little biased with this as well. I'm pro. So, okay, it could be two things. It can be two things because a lot of the times, if you have a large amount of consumer debt, it's hard to invest in other things. It's hard to start a business or invest. So if you find that that's the case and it's taking up a lot of your mental space, then yes, focus on eliminating the debt. However, if you have the capacity to, maybe financially pay that debt and start that business, I would say that starting the business will allow you to pay off that debt sooner than later, right? So it
Okay.
really just depends on your mental capacity in that sense.
Very good. Well, family, I appreciate everyone for tapping in. Just once again, give a virtual thank you to Sister Emarchez Riley, of course, discussing the importance of a millionaire mindset in the Black community. As you all know, you have been watching, of course, LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black in conjunction with Beacon Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. I would just say this, Sister Riley, I don't know if you have a YouTube channel, but if you don't, you should create one, right?
I just started my YouTube channel, and maybe this will motivate me to put more content out there, but it is Riley Elevates on all social media platforms.
Okay, yes, you could put that in the chat. That'd be greatly
How do
appreciated.
I do that? It says I have to connect my YouTube. 1 second. Let me see if I can do that really quickly so that I can put that in the chat.
Or you can send it to the private chat to me and I'll post it to the
public.
public.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah. So we could do that and then we will close out. Once again, family, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And as you know, be a blessing to the show via, of course, Cash App, Venmo, and the Super Chat. Until next time, family, y'all know what to do. Always, always, always bet on Black. Peace. So there's the platform Riley Elevates on all social media platforms. Peace. Before you go, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. And remember, here at Lumumba Speaks, we always bet on Black. Peace.